اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي، أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي، أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين، يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا ولي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا ولي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. As for your hajat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي إن الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين آمين رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. لأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات فاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل. Tuesday night program after Dua Tawassul, we have brief Tafsir of Quran, and in the series that we've been doing, we've reached chapter number 113 from Quran, known as Surah al-Falaq. Of course, these are the last surahs of Quran, which many of us have these surahs memorized. And inshallah, with this memorization that we have an understanding of these surahs. So inshallah, it'll be easier understanding the tafsir of this chapter as well. The ayah or the surah begins, it's one of the four quls, as we call it. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, Qul a'udhu bin nas, and Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. And this is one of the two surahs which is called Mu'awwadatain. Mu'awwadatain refers to the surah that begins with the word a'udhu, meaning seeking refuge. The surah says, O Muhammad, say, I seek the protection of the Lord of the daybreak, from the evil of what he has created, and from the evil of the dark night when it settles, and from the evil of the witches who blow on knots, and from the evil of the envious one when he envies. This and the next surah, as I mentioned, are called Mu'awwadatain, which are recited in times of anxiety. So when someone is feeling anxious and someone is feeling under stress and fearful and afraid and whatnot, it is important or is mentioned to recite this surah. Falaq literally means to split, to remove the shadows of the night. We seek refuge in the one who brings forth the dawn after the darkness of the night. So that is why that time, that daybreak, is called to be falaq, because the night breaks open this darkness. We take refuge from the powers whose functioning we cannot understand, like those of witchcraft, represented by the blowing on the knots. And we also take refuge from the jealous people. In some tradition, they are referred to lice that are harmless to their victim, but at the same time irritating, feeding on dead skin and dying over eating it. That's how hasad is. Hasad may not give you any trouble with his hasad. If someone is jealous of me, they're not going to harm me with just by their jealousy. In fact, this jealousy is going to go ahead and take their own life from within. That's what ends up happening. So therefore, the jealous one never wins, and we ask for refuge from this attitude which has its seed in pretty much every heart. The essence of this surah is that we must seek refuge in Allah in any difficulty, physical or spiritual, and keep guard of superstitions. So I mentioned already what the word falaq means. Some of the other words that are used in the surah, ghasiq is also used in this surah, refers to the beginning of the night, which also brings the darkness, as it mentions in the ayah which is written behind me. أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ إِلَى غَسَقِ الlayl. Maintain the prayer from the sun's decline till the darkness of the night. So when the sun declines, what salat becomes wajib? Maghrib becomes wajib, until the darkness prevails. Ghasiq also means every existence that brings darkness, not just physical, but a spiritual darkness as well. And of course, this is referring to those who practice witchcraft and evil. Most of the crimes are also committed at night. Thieves wait out the whole day. They don't do a robbery in the middle of the day. Why? People are awake. There's more chance of being caught. Majority of the crimes and the evil deeds are done when? When darkness prevails. Of course, you can't be spotted and whatnot. Not knowing that Allah is always watching, regardless of day or night. Allah is always watching. This is why we seek refuge from all the evils of darkness in Allah. Nafahat, or nafathat rather means from the root of nafatha, means of blowing, when someone blows on the knot. Or uqad means a knot. So among all the evils that exist, 3 of them are mentioned in this chapter. Number 1, hidden evils from darkness that we don't see. Number 2, evils of impure tongue, when people use their tongue. And evils of jealousy and negative company. That is also very important. How you choose your friends and who you hang out with, the negativity that is associated with those people and that could impact you. There's a discussion on hasad very quickly. Hasad or malicious envy is a psychological state in which a person wishes for the deprivation of a blessing. Meaning, if I become hasad of you, it is due to the fact that you have something which I don't. What do I want? Allah to take that good thing or that favor or that bounty away from you. Even though I'm not saying, oh Allah, give it to me, I'm just saying, oh Allah, take it away from that person. That's what jealousy is. No, I could say, oh Allah, whatever you have given to that person, give it to me as well. No, that's not what hasad is asking. Hasad is jealous from inside, says they should not have that and take it away from them. Even though I don't have it, they shouldn't have it either. So therefore, deprivation of blessing, talent, or merit possessed by another person, the mahsud. Islamic ethical teachings shed light on the causes and the motives of hasad and its harmful spiritual, moral, and social effects, and offer practical solutions for combating this spiritual disease. It's not something which is physical ailment, rather it is a spiritual ailment. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib ﷺ said, a hasid, a jealous, is a sick person, though he may physically appear to be very, very healthy. But internally, this person is very sick. Causes of hasad, enmity. When you develop animosity towards another individual for whatever reason, something that didn't go your way, something that turned them off, or some may have done something against another individual, all those things that raise enmity or animosity between two people. The sense of one's supremacy is another cause of hasad. Kibr, false pride, that I'm something, I'm someone, I belong to so-and-so family, Pedaram Sultan Bood, all this stuff leads to hasad. Fear and sometimes love of authority. Someone who loves authority or is in the place of authority. Viciousness of nature. Hasad is one of the deadliest diseases of the heart, and it produces additional vices such as hypocrisy. Because when you start doing hasad and you start feeling jealous of someone, then it's going to lead you to go ahead and lie about it as well. And you're going to start misleading people about it as well. You're going to start denying it as well. Nobody wants to go ahead and take ownership of it. So that'll lead to hypocrisy. You'll show one face here, and due to your hasad, you're going to show another face over there, double-faced. You're going to start backbiting. You're going to start slandering people because of that. And you might even abuse and taunt and torture people. All of them are grave sins. I mentioned the name of the surah, Falaq, which literally means to break something open. That's why crack of dawn or breaking of dawn is called Falaq. An overview is that two things are happening in the surah. One, seeking refuge in God from all evils. Number two, warning about cunning and envious individuals. These are two main things that are happening. There are 5 verses in this chapter and 23 words and 74 letters. What are the objectives? The main objective, as mentioned in the overview, is seeking refuge in God from all evils of existence. So the contents and topics of the surah, again, nothing different from what I have mentioned before. That Surah Falaq is instructional, providing guidance that God grants to the noble Prophet Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam in particular, and to all Muslims in general regarding seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the harm of all the evils. If anything is ever harming you, instead of reaching out to someone, and people reach out to Maulanas a lot, that give us this dua, give us that dua, something to break the magic, something to cause this to happen or to that happen, all that stuff. Had you referred to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had you referred to the ayat of Quran, mu'awwadhatain, many of the evils can be warded off just by reading the surah. But when we tell them, go ahead and read the surah, then they believe in it sometimes. Or they say, oh, I already know those surahs. We've been reciting those surahs. So the moment you feel, oh, this surah I already know, I've been reciting this surah, and you belittle the surah, right? You lose the ahmiyat of the surah in your mind, then of course the effect is also null and void. Remember the story of a student of Syed Sharif Murtaza, who is the brother of Syed Rizvi, author of Nahj al-Balagha, or the compiler of Nahj al-Balagha. Syed Murtaza says that one of his students was constantly late to his class. So he used to teach. And sometimes the student won't even come. So one day when he came and he said to him that, why is it that you're never punctual? You always come late and sometimes you don't even come. This is not how I would like to teach. He said, I have a genuine excuse. So what is your excuse? He said, there's a lake or a body of water between my house and place your class is taking place. If I miss the ship or the ferry, then I get delayed. And sometimes if I start walking, then of course I'm going to be late to school. So sometimes I come, sometimes I don't. This was a genuine reason for him. So Sayyid Sharif Murtaza gave him a ruq'ah, a piece of paper, and he wrote something on it. He said, next time when you're running late, and you're genuinely running late, and you miss the ferry for some reason, then hold this ruq'ah in your hand and start walking on the water. He had this opportunity. He was fearful once, but he trusted because he knew how to swim anyway. He started walking on the water and he saw that he wasn't drowning. And he was able to reach across this body of water. When he reached across, now he was what? Curious, as you and I are also curious. What did Sayyid Murtaza wrote in that, ruq'ah? He opened it up, all that had written in it was, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That's it. He said, that's it. All it had was Bismillah. The moment he said all that had was this Bismillah, he lost the wuqa'at and the worth of what was written in it. Bismillah, everybody knows Bismillah. Same thing is with these surahs. Because we know them, we say, oh, I'm already reciting this, tell me something else. No, read this with i'tiqad. That's why when it's mentioned, when you go for ziyarat, anyone can go for ziyarat. But go for the ziyarat with the ma'rifat of the person who you are visiting. Zair should be, acknowledge and understand and have the ma'rifat of the one who is being visited. Mazur. Then you will see the effects of this ziyarat. Time and place of revelation, the surah was revealed in Medina according to some Mufassirin, but many believe that it was revealed in Makkah. It is placed at number 113 in the current order of the surahs, but it was 20th surah to be revealed in chronological order after Surah Fil. Some of the features and reward of reciting this surah, narration by Ubay ibn Ka'b. It is mentioned that whoever recites this surah and Surah Nas, it is as if they have recited the entire collection of books that God has revealed to the prophets. Not just Quran, but all the other books. Uqba also narrates from Prophet who said, "Oh Uqba, do you want me to teach you the two of the best surahs from Quran?" He said, yes. Then he taught me Mu'awwazatayn, Qul a'udhu bin-nas and Qul a'udhu bi-rabbil falaq. Then he recited it in the morning prayer and told me, read it every time you get up and before you go to sleep. Make it a habit of reciting these surahs before you go to sleep and when you wake up. Similarly, Abu Ubaidah Qaza, he narrated from fifth Imam, who said, whoever recites these two chapters seeking refuge and says, and also recite Qul huwallahu ahad in the witr prayer, Salatul Layl, witr prayer, in that witr prayer, if you recite this, it is said to him, congratulations and glad tidings to you, O servant of God, for surely God has accepted your witr prayer. We pray all the time, but we don't know for sure which salat is accepted. But when you recite this surah, it is said and confirmed that your salat is accepted. The atmosphere in this surah was revealed, and I'll conclude with this. Suyuti, one of the Mufassirin of Ahl Sunnah, in his Tafsir, in his book Durr al-Manthur, narrates from Abd ibn Hamid, who narrates from Zayd ibn Aslam, who said a Jewish man cast a spell on the Messenger of God, causing him to fall ill. So Rasulullah was under a spell, according to Suyuti, and Rasulullah fell sick. As a result, Jibreel descended to him and brought 2 chapters from, the revelation of Quran. And there were these 2 surahs, Mu'awwadhatain. And said to Rasulullah, a Jewish man had bewitched you, and the magic is in such and such well. The Messenger of God sent someone to fetch the spell. He ordered the knots to be untied, and for each knot he recited a verse. As soon as the knots were untied and those chapters were completed, the Messenger of God stood up as if a binding had been removed from his feet and was keeping him down. And as soon as it was recited, he was on his feet. Now, this is mentioned in a Sunni Tafsir. The narrative is also mentioned in some of our books. Tibb al-Aimma, with its own chain, narrated from Muhammad ibn Sinan, from Mufaddal, from 6th Imam. Similar to this meaning, there are many narrations with slight variations in Sunni traditions. And many of them, it is mentioned that Zubair and Ammar were sent by Imam Ali. And in other books, from the Imams of Ahl Bayt are reported that these 2 were the ones who went to get that from the well. They have raised objections to this category of narratives, questioning how these narratives do not contradict Prophet's immunity from the effects of magic. That Rasulullah, out of all the people, usually we say weak-hearted people get affected by these things, magic and whatnot. Rasulullah, out of all the people, strongest man, how can he be affected by something like this? When Quran denies the bewitching of the Prophet. Surah Furqan, chapter 25, ayat 8 and 9 says, وَقَالَ الظَّالِمُونَ إِن تَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا رَجُلًا مَسْحُورًا. And the wrongdoers say, you're just following a bewitched man. Look, how can they coin epithet to you? So they go astray and cannot find the way. So the kuffar and the zalimeen consider Rasulullah to be what? Under or being possessed, sahir or magician himself. Although, so now, what is if I can just back up a little bit. So we have riwayat from Durr Mansur, Suyuti saying what? The Rasulullah fell sick because a Jewish man cast some sort of spell on him. Jibreel Amin comes down, tells him, this is what happened, brings these 2 surahs to Rasulullah, and tells him to look for the solution in this well. And that's when we counter by saying, how can Rasulullah be affected by a magic like this? While Quran is saying that Rasulullah, these kuffar used to associate being bewitched or under spell to Rasulullah, while Quran denies it. Although this objection is not valid. Why? That this ayat is being used to prove that Rasulullah cannot be under the spell. As the intention of the polytheist in claiming that Prophet was bewitched was to portray him as irrational and insane. They were saying that Rasul is sahir and magician and kahin and so on and so forth. That was because they were scared of him, they were afraid of him, and they wanted to make him look bad. They weren't saying that he was possessed. And then Quran comes and says, oh, Rasulullah cannot be possessed. However, the noble verse refutes this meaning. As for the impact of magic causing illnesses to the body of the Prophet or having other effects, there's no evidence supporting his immunity from such. Why? Because Rasulullah fell sick on numerous occasions. Even by eating, the wafat of Rasulullah takes place, according to some traditions, is because he ate something, which again is associated by a Jewish woman who fed Rasulullah, who ate something at that house, and then the slow poisoning effect of it took place later on. Or also it is mentioned that sometimes, in regards to even Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, that Quran talks about it, even the ayat of Surah Dahr, we know that they had fallen sick. So, them to be physically affected or have the illness is something which is common, and there is nothing wrong in it as well. So therefore, this was the summary of the surah number 113 from Quran, known as Surah Falaq. Inshallah, next week, if God permits, we will do the last surah, chapter number 114, Surah Nas, and that will be the conclusion of the entire 30th juz of Quran that we have done, alhamdulillah, tafsir of in these Tuesday nights. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to be able to follow the commands and the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the instructions given to us by Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from all the evils as mentioned in this surah, whether it be the evils of the world, whether it be the envies of the people, whether it be the hasad of those who are looking to cause problems and troubles for others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us all from all of these different types of evils that exist around us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all the Muslimin, mu'minat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to provide quick solution to the current crisis that the people of Gaza are facing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring an end to their oppression. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam and make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma salli. Mutawajjih ziyarat. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, assalamu alayka Nabi Allah, assalamu alayka ya Habib Allah, assalamu alayka ya Khiyarat Allah, assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah, assalamu alayka ibn Rasulullah, assalamu alayka wa ala jaddika wa abika wa ala ummika wa akhika wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba, assalamu alayka ya Mu'in al-Du'afa wal Fuqara, assalamu alayka Shams al-Shumus wa Anis al-Nufus, ayyuha al-Madfun bi ardatus, Ali ibn Musa al-Rada, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, assalamu alayka Sahib al-Asr wa zaman. Assalamu imam al-insi wal jan, assalamu alayka sharik al-Quran, ajjal Allahu ta'ala farajak wa sahal Allahu makhrajak wa dhuhurak wa ja'alana min awanik wa